You're listening to Snippets from the Summit with your host, Scott McKay.
How's it going, gentlemen? This is your main man, Scott McKay, coming at you again with another Snippet from the Summit as part of the Mountaintop podcast from X&Y Communications. Today, I want to talk to you about a phenomenon that I'm noticing with men out there. And I think if we wake ourselves up from this problem, we can put an end to it ourselves. It's kind of like, well, it's not even about changing a habit. It's more like flipping a switch. Here goes. Since COVID, you've heard me talk a lot, and rightly so, I believe, about kind of how our social muscles have atrophied because of the lockdowns and the retraining of our minds to be alone. Some people, for sure, decide, hey, you know what? I like this. Being alone is pretty cool. I don't have to deal with actual people. And that's great if you're not only introverted, but just really want to be a hermit like Ted Kaczynski or something. But I don't think for a second that gig is for everybody. And indeed, as a couple more years have progressed since the lockdowns ended, people's social muscles are starting to get toned up again. That phenomenon of social muscle atrophy is kind of in the rearview mirror. I think just about everybody who wants to be social is at least out there trying to be social. But there are some men out there who've let this muscle atrophy morph into kind of a social anorexia. And so what do I mean by that? Certain men among us are basically committing intentional starvation of our own selves. So what does that look like? Well, maybe a guy here and there has approached a woman, tried to spark up a relationship, but finds either women don't like him, or when he does find a woman who's willing to go out with him, he's really not so into her, or relationships turn bad or sour. Women take advantage of him, are in it for the money. It's all feeling just way too transactional. So what he's doing is saying, it's just not worth it anymore. Last week we did a podcast, Emily and I, full length, asking the question, are relationships even worth it anymore? And as I said, as I introduced that episode on my Facebook group, it's not a rhetorical question. Lots of people are finding darned good reasons to just avoid getting into a long-term relationship with each other. But if we're not going to get into a relationship, and we're not even going to date around, then we are resigning ourselves to being alone, keeping ourselves away from women, and with that, going so far as to not even venture to try to even get better with women anymore, just to resign ourselves to being alone, is leading to starvation. And it's intentional starvation. Now, we can try to fill our gullet with things like porn or going to strip clubs or something like that, but in the end, we're still starving. And that's an issue, and that's a problem. Here's the thing about real actual anorexia and the social version that I'm talking about here. In both cases, it's still starvation. We're starving. And in both cases, it's probably killing us. So what do we do about this? If you can resonate with this message today, gentlemen, first, sit with the idea of social anorexia in general. Is that something you want to be a part of? Is that something you want to allow in your life? Or are you going to finally stand up, just say no, and get about the business of getting better with women? Guys, I could tell you, just like getting back to a healthy weight is worth it in the long run, and well, indeed in the short run too, just saying no to starving, taking on that hunger, and yes, feeding yourself, first with a new mindset and then with new skills, will only lead to you feeling better, being healthier, and I don't know, it might even save your life. Guys, good women are out there, and you know what? They might be starving too. Lead, be the man, get better with women, meet better women, and end up a lot healthier, a lot happier, and maybe you may thank me for it later. Want to talk about this or anything else? Scott at mountaintoppodcast.com. Be good out there.
As always, visit mountaintoppodcast.com for more.